Hey guys, it's Marta.
And Liesle,
And welcome back to the Day Night Podcast.
With our special guest,
Daniil. Daniil was a cave.
Daniil. We know your name now. How old are you and where are you from?
Okay, so I am 18 years of age. Where I'm from is a broad question. I was born in Russia, in Eastern Siberia. Then I had been living in Moscow for about 8 years. Then here in Luxembourg for the rest is already more than 5 years ago. Actually, I lost count. But since I was 10, actually.
Okay.
That's why. So the story of my origins, where I'm from, in a broad sense.
All right. Now, a fan favorite is... Oh, okay. Sorry. A fan favorite, which is, what perception do you have of me and Marta? Was either true or false? It's like the first time when we first met, like where did we first meet, and what was your first perception of us? And we'll do the same for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Very well. I will start. We can start with Liesle. The first time we had met was in P5, so to begin at the beginning. I honestly thought of Liesle as somebody who was very studious and who essentially I even looked up to you. Like I thought, like my model of studiousness right now is partially based on the impression I had of you in P5, and you were studious, you seemed organized, you seemed like somebody who was responsible, who would volunteer a lot, and would help the teachers out with sort of managing, say small children, but other less organized, less devoted children. So somebody of that sort, really.
That's interesting.
Now coming to Marta, we've met later was S2.
S2.
Honestly, to be brutally honest, the first impression that I have is that you were somebody who is very charismatic, very extroverted, who would sort of appeal to all sorts of, again, charisma, speeches, and try as hard as possible to get whatever you would want. Which is sort of, you had this strength of charisma in you, and how pretty much that you would be able to apply it, again, to convince the people that you would be right in regarding various sorts of things. And I had also, at least I thought I had noticed this aspect of sort of socialism and feminism, sort of pro-feminist part on your behalf, that you would also strive to prove your point with regard to these domains.
Yeah. No, I find it really interesting that you thought I was charismatic, because I do think I am somewhat charismatic, especially right now. But back then I would not have thought that at all. So I think that's really interesting that you would say that. And I'm very happy that you would say that. That's really cool that like people think of me as that. That's really nice. Yeah.
All right. So
Make a good student wedding present.
Yeah. Thank you.
all right.
Seen it right away.
Yeah.
Okay, so perceptions of you when we first met. Again, I first met you in P5. I remember you were very quiet at the beginning, and I don't know, just the person you become now is incredible, honestly, because you went from very quiet to, well, to be fair, you were quiet because it was a different environment. You were adjusting into a new system with different students in a different language too. But over time, you've flourished as a person. I feel like you've become your own person. You've really established your position as an individual. Does that make sense? So it's not like you're a shy person just keeping it to yourself. You're really out there. You know what you want. You get it. You're very studious too, which is something we cannot deny. And you also, when you see something you want, you strive to get it. Like you work really hard to get to whatever level you wanna get into. Which we will be getting into that soon. But as for Marta,
When I first met you, I don't remember much. From like from S2 second semester, because everything's basically a blur still. But I remember thinking you're really studious, that you're really intelligent, and that I can like, out of all of the students in our class, you were the most dedicated, and you still are like the most dedicated to getting things right. You have a really strong sense of justice, which is really, really cool. And yeah, that you just, I wouldn't say like, you're quiet, but when you need to say something, you'll say something, you know? Like it's not the kind of quiet or shy. I wouldn't say you're shy at all, for example. I think if you need to say something, you'll say something. I think that's was my impression of you then. Like even though you're quiet, you weren't shy. You were just. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's definitely, I was shy in the beginning. It was actually the first time I was in a proper school, because I had been homeschooled before.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. Well, you guys appreciate my dedication, because it's sort of the way I live and function. So thank you very much.
no worries. We appreciate the observation too. Yeah, it's very nice. We like that. But our next question now, do you have one, Marta?
I was gonna ask. I don't know if it's controversial, Lisa.
Go ahead.
No, but like homeschooling to me is really interesting because in a lot of European countries, for example, you're like homeschool isn't even allowed; it's illegal. So, what do you think homeschooling compares to like public school now? How do you think? Do you think one is better than the other? What is your personal opinion of if you have one on the matter?
I do, because it's something that I should have an opinion. I've been homeschooled for 4 years.
Yeah.
I think with regard to some systems, homeschooling would really be the preference, even though it's difficult to generalize it. For example, in the country I would come from, the reason why I was homeschooled was because my parents wanted to save me from everything that is going on in public schools in Russia, which is not the best place. It's difficult for me to speak about what is happening there, and because I've heard lots of things and I had not experienced them at the same time, but it basically comes down to children just growing up a bit too fast, in a sense of doing inappropriate things and sort of suffering from bad influence from the elder kids, and then it's not too good, and then the people come to hate schools, because also the other problem with the system is that because the teachers are very poor, there is really little care done for quality education, and there are also conflicts between students and teachers, and it's generally quite strict, and people grow to hate that. And I believe the choice that my parents had taken of homeschooling me for almost my entire primary school years was actually very wise, because now that I had come to Luxembourg and I have integrated a better school system than I would have in Russia. I've learned to like school, because otherwise I would have never.
Yeah.
Right.
This is I believe it depends on the system. In Luxembourg, at least in the European system, I believe the European system is, well, good, is quite good, at least good enough to for a school system, and homeschooling versus integrated European school system. At that point, the choice for me would lie for the European school system because it's quite good in my opinion.
All right, so I would like to circle back to you and your evolution to the person you've become today. I'm going to specifically start off from S1, so I'm going to move away from P5. S1 onwards, what was kind of like the light bulb switch in your head where you're like, I want to do this, I want to progress, I want to get to this point in my life, I want to become the person that I'm now? Or is there someone you looked up to then, or someone inspired you? Was there just a moment in yourself that you were like, I want to change? So it was not necessarily someone inspiring you.
Well, what had pushed me was actually not a push I would recommend for the society or the world because it was COVID. And then as to, I had actually given myself a lot more slack than I would now, and now I'm kind of regretting it a bit. Even though I have is just a year in early secondary school, it's nothing too important. But that's when lockdown had come, when the pandemic had come, I sort of, at that point I was really afraid that what would happen to my education, because I was in school and I had to get somewhere, and if there was this pandemic and there was so much uncertainty, what would happen to me? It was really, and then in S3 I already tried to get myself to be more engaged with that regard. The S3 was actually the year of sort of when I got the highest grades at that point, up until that point, and I was really starting to read. And it took a while for me to find opportunities of where I could flourish. But it was really that point in S2 when there were the lockdowns that I thought, I had to do something because there was just too much uncertainty.
All right. And through your school career till now, we're in S7, for those who still don't know, are there any friends you have made that have come and gone? And if so, would you care to share who?
Throughout
S1 till now.
Yes, I have. I believe I can consider Ilya as a friend. We had some common interests, and there was also a sense of competition between us, at least at first, because he was he knew a lot more about the topics I was interested in, but he's also old, which partially explains it. We talk a lot less now because we had things back last year, but we had met quite a few months ago, and he's actually applying to a couple of universities that I have on my list. It's possible we will be studying together. He's an important person. Then another important person for me, probably most people in this school are not aware of. A regular participant in the national science competition in Luxembourg, I have met someone who had a crush on me, and she had confessed to me, and we even, I might say, had a sort of a relationship for some time in S5. Because she's from a different school. She's from Jean Lucius in the British program. It was like nobody could see her here. Obviously, not many people know her around here, but there was also a reason for why it was difficult for us to interact. It was only through social media, and I'm not super great at social media interactions, I admit. but it was, well, at least it's quite an experience. In the end, there was just too much divergence of interests, especially with regard to political spectra. There was no violent ending after it all. We just kind of, it was too difficult and not worth it anymore to really interact with each other. And then we're passing our back this year, both of us, so no, we don't have much time to come hang out.
Alright. You actually answered one of the questions I was going to ask, which was what was if you had a love life, which you've already answered. But have you had any other prior experience to the relationship? Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's too invasive, but have you already had your first kiss? Or, I don't know, what was just your first
Lisa, you
interaction?
made a pact to yourself. You accidentally asked somebody a really invasive question and you feel really bad. So from now on, we're gonna ask everybody a really invasive
So you're not the only one. I'm sorry if it sounds really weird. But essentially, the question is, what was your first romantic encounter? Not a proper relationship, but just like maybe
An encounter.
just, I don't know. First kiss, like, oh, suddenly, or anything.
Regarding the first kiss, I can actually say that outside of my family, I had not kissed anyone.
Okay.
It just happened to be so.
Okay.
And I'm not asking anything, it's a fact. The first time I really felt that I could be attached to somebody in a love-like relationship and sort of liking somebody was actually way back in S1. She's not in our school anymore, and it was just like a teenage love that was, well, nothing serious really. But at that point I thought that, well, it was the first time I had no stuff inside me. And I'm not sure if I have the right to tell who.
We can keep that secret.
Or we could leave it.
Like, we can
It's-
keep the name out there.
Well, it was just, well, it's about the, because I want to respect that person as well, because there was like no interaction at all. Like, it literally came down to, oh my God, she had smiled at me. Oh, and I thought she was so pretty. It was from our drama theater class with Miss Marcus. One of the girls there who was 2 years younger than me. She's in high school. But that was the first time. First time I had admitted I had a crush was in the university, and Mars probably remembers, and that person, I'm sure she remembers, and to an extent, I don't know, it could be a complication, but we had been through so much. She's been in our class actually since S1 as well, so it might have gone a bit awkward as I see it. Like there was this episode as well.
Alright. Okay. Okay, we'll move on to a more, I guess it's a very silly question, but it's the color question. Martin, would you like to do that?
Ooh, okay, so the color question basically is if you would assign yourself first 3 colors. 3 colors?
Yeah.
What 3 colors would you choose to define yourself as? And then, and why, of course.
Like very brief.
And then you had to assign Lisa and I 1 color each, and we assign you 1 color as well.
And you have to say why you decided yes, that's colors, and we would too.
Okay. I have 3 colors. Now, one of them is definitely black with me, like the sort of the dark, complete darkness, which is just one of my favorite colors, and I tend to wear dark clothes. It's something that I constantly associate with myself. It's not that it's too symbolic, it's just the way as I tend to wear lots of dark colors. Then there could I could also talk about red. It's just a combination of black and red that sort of appeals to me visually, and it's also, to an extent, it's like a color of this rash strength for me. It's nothing to do with blood or anything, but just a color of action. And probably green. Again, I like the combination of black and green, but also it was just a color that is there, that it used to be my favorite color when I was small as well. It's not that I can actually say things about it. It's just those three colors are kind of the most appealing, and I like the visual combination. I haven't thought of giving it a specific meaning, but I can in the future. If there were the three colors that could define me, those would probably be the colors.
All right.
And then one for each of us?
You can take some time to think about that with you on the spot like that, and we'll think of one as well.
For Marta, I would have probably picked a color like a shade of dark yellow.
Okay.
It's probably the association in part to your dress code, to like the clothes you wear. For some reason, I have this association that you would tend to wear brown things at times, brown clothes, and just the immediate atmosphere that is perceived as one sort of dark, color.
I don't wear that much. Well, yeah, I do.
Maybe,
no,
maybe,
I mean,
maybe
it's your
something-
perception.
Maybe
so it's fine.
something like it happens. Some things that stuck more in my mind.
Okay. Yeah. And for Lisa? She's very, very patient.
Oh, I'm thinking about the color too.
Oh,
That's
okay.
why, yeah.
It's interesting how, for some people, like I've got an immediate color in my head, and for some,
You're not the only one. When I say every single person we've ever interviewed, everyone keeps blocking on me because it's really, I don't know.
She's too mysterious.
Oh Lord, please, please.
If it helps, I have one for you, and I think Lisa. Do you have one for Daniil?
Yeah, but I don't know if that's gonna distract his thinking. I want him to, I don't know. We'll give him some time.
hey, at the end of the day, I would say black as well.
That's interesting.
Again, it's for some reason with me, it's more tied to the immediate visual appearance. Like I remember you wearing quite well, having quite a dark dress code, dark clothes that probably left a larger impact on me. So which is why I would go for
The black.
for black.
Okay.
It's just regarding the immediate visual appearance. It's not. I don't understand the significance of this. Like it's just the immediate impression.
I have a color for you. Marta, I'm sure, has too.
Yeah.
Do you want to start?
I do. Okay. I surprisingly enough, before you told me that I was a yellow, I also thought of yellow for you. I thought of a mix of like yellow and orange. And again, it goes to like the dedication. And also, I actually don't associate dark colors with you at all. I associate lighter colors more with you. And then yellow is just like usually I would give yellow to someone who's like very energetic, all that stuff. But I don't even like you can be energetic, but I don't associate you directly with those terms. I think it's just you do have an air, like a light air around you, and I think the dedication again, the you're very open. I don't know if I would describe you as an open person, but the vibe you give is a very open person. Again, if we ask you a question, you
Like
can
an
answer.
open book.
Yeah, and so yellow just to me, an orangey yellow, kind of goes around.
Okay, and as for me, I was about to go for yellow too, but then I was like, no. I go for green. And I mean like just the mundane, not the mundane, but like a foresty, regular green. Because I guess green reminds me also of plants and growth. And just seeing you grow from the person you were before to now, it's like, it's quite significant. I mean, everybody grows, but it's so, I think I've known you for so long, so that's really why I associate you with just the evolution of your personality and how you've grown into the person you are now. And then also greenery you find a bit everywhere. There's always a bit of greenery everywhere, and I think that's you. You're very versatile in the things you're interested in. Like you don't just kind of put yourself in one box and then that's all you're going to focus yourself in. You know a bit of everything. You put yourself into different spaces and expose yourself into different environments, which I think is really cool. And that's why I picked green.
I like that answer.
You've been thinking a lot about it. You've got a lot more symbolism. I've got a symbolism. I know I associate the black color with you. Probably it's because of my perception. Because, well, I wear dark clothes. It's kind of myself, and it's sort of because it gives comfort and it gives firmness. So because of the organization and the responsibility that I associate with you, perhaps it's that. Because I see in that color some sort of this power to organize, this power to be responsible that I probably associate in black with you.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah. Well, that's really good. Yes, these are just one of my frivolous questions that I sometimes ask the girls during warm-up on random, because
Yes.
I like to put them on the spot. But yeah, do you have a question to go
I
on?
do. This is something that I actually already know the answers to. I don't know if Lisa does, but somebody told me that you're growing your hair out for a reason. Is that something you're willing to talk about and explain, like why you were doing that, and also if you would ever cut your hair at all?
Oh, okay. So originally, I would have to admit, I had started to grow my hair because I had forgotten to cut it properly. It was COVID. There were not many hairdresser services around me, so we had sort of forgotten about it. And then I thought it looks pretty nice, visually appealing. So I decided to grow it since about around S3. And in the end, I had sort of found myself there in a way, because, well, I'm not sure if you might know, I'm really attached to whatever is the rock musical genre, and it sort of came to define my attachment to it. And then I also play guitar. I mean, at least I try to find the time to play it, but it's this symbolic attachment to the genre that I have grown in me. At one point, I had actually cut it a bit so just before the start of this year, just because my parents had convinced me that I should tidy it up occasionally, that at the end of S6, it was, at least according to them, a total mess. I would disagree. But then in the end, they had convinced me to at least sort of bring my length to the same level at least, but it wouldn't be for at least another year that would come again when they would sort of when I would have enough when I would have enough of their sort of pressure about it and just say okay, I would tidy it up. I mean, not just for them, but when they would convince me that it's a total mess. For now, I don't envision any haircuts within at least a year. So make sure that my parents' pressure would not amount to much of a convincing power.
All right, so my next question for you now is completely different, but do you enjoy traveling?
I do. I enjoy traveling, but at the same time, I've got my criteria. Traveling for good cause. For example, I want to travel somewhere for a specific reason, for a destination that I would sort of be aware of, and so that I could sort of have some control over what I'm doing and where I'm going. For example, I had traveled to Mexico just in December for a science competition. So it was for the cause I adored, and I would know what the program would be, where we would go, and how I would be able to plan and organize my time. And I enjoyed it a lot. But then a week ago, we had just come from Istanbul, and there. So just to explain a bit of a background, the idea was for us to meet a couple of our relatives because it was easier for them to come from Russia to Turkey, administrative-wise. In the end, only one relative came because apparently it was too physically difficult to travel by plane. And there we got caught in a blizzard on a daily basis in Turkey. Yes, I know what I'm saying. And then maybe there was lots of uncertainty. I couldn't do any sports like I regularly do because the city was a bit too dangerous for that, and because my parents started telling me of how I was going to see that very relative, and that is the most important thing. But now I need to organize myself somehow, and I needed to. Well, study a bit as well, and that sort of ruined the results. So just to conclude, yes, I enjoy traveling. I enjoy seeing new places. In fact, I want to be, well, not entirely like Bernardino Evaristo when I grow up, but I don't want to stay in a single country. I want to live there for like 5-3 years, then move to a different country a couple of times, to see the world. But again, I want to have the control of what I'm seeing, where I'm going, and what I do.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Look, me too. Because this is no hate to my family, but my goals when I go to visit a country is to indulge into the culture, really submerge myself into it. So like, I don't know, just appreciate the culture, so eat that food. Like my goal is to eat that food every day, is to really understand where their culture derives, a bit of history essentially. I want to do history when I go and travel. But with my family, it feels like it's taking pictures with all the monuments and not enjoying what's there in the moment. And it's so annoying. I don't know, we just have different goals. So maybe in the future I can do that more.
Yeah, I have 2 different types of vacations. I have like the vacation where it's like I go to my family, I visit my family, I talk to my family, and then I have the vacation of what you guys are describing, like we go see a new place. And when I'm with my family, I let loose of control. I just want to be with them. I don't care if we're like productive. I don't care where we eat. I just want to spend time with them. But then, for example, I'm going to Barcelona with my mom. And I'm really excited for that specifically because me and my mom are great travel buddies. We vibe really well. We know what we want to do. We know we want to go shopping, but we also know we just want to explore. I also control my mom so that she doesn't go into consumerism. And it's just we're going with my little brother too, so we're going to go to museums. And like I know with her it would be really fun. I also like traveling alone with my dad because us two, we also bond really well. However, traveling with my whole family, it's like everybody has like I can adapt to my parents' different traveling styles. They can't adapt to each other's.
It's just that everyone wants to do so many different things, so you can't really fit it all in one day, and then someone is upset, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
But
you learn
that's
to
how
live with
yeah,
it.
you learn to
And you
live
know,
with
you
it.
just learn to
Is
to
that
compromise.
Do you have like a dream destination
Yeah.
that you would want to go to?
Do I have to pick one?
Yeah.
One. Okay.
I'm sorry. Yes.
I think that is really always on top of my head is probably Melbourne, Australia.
Ooh.
Okay, yes, not New York or anything. It's just because it's always there in my head because they have a very good university, and then I looked the place up, and that sort of metropolis that is sort of a bit that no one knows about really here in Europe about what it's like there, and it would be very interesting to see what it's like. And apart from the housing prices, I've heard it's a very nice place.
All right. No, Melbourne's also. I watch a lot of Australian TikTok, and Melbourne is always like the cool city. It's like Sydney is broken down, Perth is weird, but Melbourne's a cool city.
I heard Bondi is also pretty good.
Bondi is the beach.
Yeah, but like
Is it?
the area is like
Okay.
really nice. Like the Bondi Coast and stuff's really cool. But yeah, I mean, I have another question if you don't mind. But I'm assuming you do you enjoy reading?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Brief answer, yes. Yes, I enjoy reading.
What books?
The thing is, with me, it's difficult for me to convince myself to read something that I would not know how it would be useful in the future. Which is why sort of I come to enjoy books that are relevant to topics that I study, that I would like to study as a scientist later on. Things about economics, things about I bought a book about mathematics. It's called Fermat's Last Theorem. It's about this theorem that people kept trying to solve for centuries, and then somebody cracked it just in the 70s, and about all the the mathematicians who were trying to solve it, and the pressure that was upon them, and the lives that they were living. So we'll eventually get to read, hopefully during the summer holidays that are coming. But yeah, it's sort of because of my maybe extreme dedication to learning and all, I came to view books as something that should at least be clearly associated with something that could help me to develop with.
I completely.
Have you read Lord of the Rings?
Actually, no, I had not.
It was a fun question. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I understand it's like a very universe that is very thought-free and potentially kind of nerdy, but no, I had not come to read it.
See, I have a huge problem with that book because it's so long.
I've heard of
It's
it.
so long. I've never read it, and I don't want to just watch the movies until I read it because, yeah. But if I'm gonna start reading, I want to read everything, right? So I'm not. Have you read The Lord of the Rings, Lisa?
No. Look, when I read books, I also don't like
nonfiction.
reading. Yeah, I don't like reading. In my opinion, is frivolous. I don't like fairy tales. I don't like stuff with action that's rubbish. I like real life things, things that actually happen. So I like historical books. Usually that happen in a specific event because then I can learn about that specific event. Yeah, that's all I like to read. Or if not, it's just real life things that happen even today. But when it comes to fiction, I really hate it. And I do not see myself liking it any time in the future. And I know it. So that's it.
I love reading. I'm an avid reader, and I've stopped to read. I've read less now because of school. But to me, I have a similar issue of I only want to read books of value, right? But sometimes books of value can be really boring, and they're really
They're hard
dense
to find.
to read, hard to find, and sometimes a silly book I can read in like a weekend, no problems. 300 pages, no problem. But another book that's like better for your brain can take months, because it's you know you're gonna have to use your brain. To me personally, and so it's just like, how do you get there?
Yeah, I guess it depends, because I could finish those books. There's this one book I read, it was so good, and I was reading on a road trip, but I was about to finish it within that one day, which is great because I was reading the whole entire time, and I had to stop myself because I wanted to read the rest of it on the way back. But yeah, those books, historical books, anything real events, anything that I find is important, I can read it in one day.
Yeah.
If I read all that, I can finish in one day. It's so interesting to me.
You know what I really
Historical
miss?
books.
Did you read a lot as a kid too, or only is that a recent thing?
The what?
Reading. Like, did you read a lot as a kid, or is it more
As a
something you
kid,
developed when you got older?
Well, as a kid, obviously I've been changing quite a few times as a kid as well. Pretty much around the age of 8 to 10, I was actually quite an active reader of fiction by the SWAT author that I really liked. I'm not sure if you know Kripivin, if you know him. He's not that known in the so-called West, I would say. He used to write in Russian, but he definitely has this pro-Western mentality, and he wrote about teenagers for teenagers, but he would always explore very serious issues, the issues of power, politics, and very deeply. That would sort of grab me, and I discovered lots of unputdownable books of his as a result.
That's really
Yeah,
nice.
that's really nice. All right. Well, before we get to our last 3 questions, I have one more question for you. Do you have a favorite classmate?
Lisa, that's like, whoa. Talk
It's
about
a fan
shocking
question. I'm sorry, it's a fan question.
Are we talking classmate, or are you talking like
Classmate
Okay.
in our class.
EN2?
EN2.
EN2.
It's a fan question. This, not me.
I want to know who asked that after.
It's a fan.
Okay, and this obviously, if I mention a name, that does not imply anything about everybody else, because
No.
I don't want to.
Okay. I mean, you made
want
it
to-
clear.
We're not
I don't want-
offending people here.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't want to make anybody feel bad. In terms of classmate-wise, I would actually say you, Marta, because
I feel so
well,
honored.
in terms of classmate, you are definitely somebody whom I know I can rely upon, and whom I can work with above all.
Nice.
Yeah. So, you know, with some people that whom I have nothing completely against, but it's sort of difficult to either to interact for B because of some past things that have occurred, or because it's just both the person, again, without offense. We don't exactly share the same interests, but in terms of classmate-wise, in the way that we interact here in school, I would definitely choose you because I can count on you, and I know we can work together, and I can trust you.
Thank you. I like to think I bring the energy to our class. I like to think that in English class specifically, I bring the energy, and you guys wouldn't be the same without me.
You definitely make people wake up.
Lord, someone's. It's okay, no, it's fine.
Again,
This is a joke.
No, I'm just a joke. I'm joking.
Oh, disclaimer for people who don't understand sarcasm. This
This is sarcasm. I'm sorry for anyone that's like, oh my
No,
gosh,
I
she's
mean-
mean.
what I'm like. I think very highly of myself, but yeah.
no, I mean, I can testify you definitely make people like wake up when you're answering all the teacher's questions, and I'm sort of sitting there back at the table and waiting there. Okay, there's Marta answering. I've got to say something as well. So you're quite right.
Nice. Yeah.
You did bring energy.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, last 3 questions, Lisa.
So, okay. No, that's yours.
Oh, I start. Sure.
Oh, no. Actually, yeah, it's yours. But
Yeah.
this is a very brief question. Try and answer as short as you can. As short as possible. Okay, yeah, whatever. Yeah, go ahead.
Do I go? Okay.
Yes.
From your whole life up until now, what's one thing you want to take with you to the future? It can be a feeling, it can be a phrase, it can be anything at all.
So within the temporal range of, so is it something that I have now that I want to take in?
Yeah.
Something that
Anything.
If I had,
It can be something you lost.
Okay, and I have to answer briefly.
Yeah.
To be as brief as possible, it's probably the opportunity to participate at science fairs, and and that feeling and joy that I experienced while doing so, because I would not be able to do this forever. There are age limits, and there are the constraints of the baccalaureate, and it's probably that feeling that I feel at these fairs.
Alright, okay, that's good.
Now, second to last question, which is Daniil. Well, fan
Fan
favorite.
favorite.
We have to always mention that
Fan
fan favorite. Daniil, you get to ask me, Marta, any question under the sun. We have to answer it. You'll never get this opportunity ever again. The rule is you can ask us each an individual question or one question you both have to answer.
I'm actually interested. Because obviously we all had a life before the EIDE, and I had not known you at that point. Like, if you could just maybe tell me more about what you have been doing throughout the 2010s, because I just want to see, like, maybe we shared common experiences, the common cartoons, some common things, man, because I'm very curious about what you have been doing before. If you could tell me more about it.
Is there a question for both of us?
Yes.
Okay. You start?
Sure. So, I've lived in two places before. In 2010s, specifically, I associate with Vienna, right? Because I moved to Vienna in 2013, and I stayed there till I moved here. And then, I would say I was a different person also because I was younger, and there, I was usually the smart but weird kid. That's who I was. That's who I still am to some extent. But it's like, I remember being bullied. I remember being a bully. We've talked about this. And one thing that's interesting is that I was actually at a science gymnasium, so like secondary school. In Austria, it's 8 years of secondary school. So you do 4 years of primary school, 8 years of secondary school. And my first 4 years of primary were just amazing school. I had no issues. And then I actually went to a science school because it was the closest to my house, and my parents really wanted me to go there. And I did a lot of math. I did I did biology, physics. We hadn't done chemistry yet, but that's something that really defined me. Of like, I still think of myself as a science person, even though I don't do science stuff. Like, I do history, geography, economics. They're sciences, but they're not natural. Is it natural sciences? Yeah.
Yeah, natural sciences.
Yeah, natural sciences. And my mom's a natural scientist, and I listen to science podcasts, and I love just the idea of science. That's not what I want to do, and it's crazy. And then when I was younger, I was just, again, I was a kid that was just reading all the time. I was always I haven't changed much personality-wise. Like, I was always very loud, always very open, always asking weird questions and just existing. But yeah, I guess, 2010 was, that era for me was also really important because we were talking about growing up earlier as well. One defining moment for me when I grew up was when I stopped listening to the same music my parents were listening. when I found my own music taste. Katy Perry was an eye-opener for me. I had never listened to pop. It's crazy thing to say, but I've never like actively listened to pop music before I turned like 8. And so Katy Perry was there. Katy Perry awakened me, and after that I just started to find my own music taste, discover myself in a different way. And that to me was also a very big moment, and that all happened in Vienna because of one of my friends. So yeah, please slay.
Mine. Wow, these stories. I'm joking, but where do I start? Grew up here my whole entire life. I just grew up here, grew into the culture here. I think, yeah, I'm a Luxembourger, I guess. Originally, no, but I grew up here. I grew up watching German TV a lot, so I picked up on that. At home, speak English. French learned at school. German continued at school, I guess. My childhood sport for the very longest time was swimming, so that was my life. I loved it, and then I stopped, and I did many other sports after that. Cartoon-wise, I loved Heidi, Maya the Bee. This show is a bit boring, but it's called like Nils Holgersson. For people who know, they know. Another show I used to love.
Not Angelou?
That came later.
Okay.
Angelo came later. But there was also Weihnachtsmann. Weihnachtsmann was cool. Weihnachtsmann. No.
Is it the weird one where it's like they're in the North Pole?
And they have like multiple elves and they have that wing. Yeah. There's him. When I was super young, I liked Dora the Explorer, Teletubbies, all that mundane stuff. I had a diverse friend group. Like, none of them were really Luxembourgish. Most of them came from like Montenegro and Serbia and all that stuff. I had like one North African friend, like I had an Asian friend. We were quite diverse. I didn't experience racism as a kid, which is really, I'm happy about that. Because we're all so different and we all had our own struggles, so that there was like a mutual understanding. And yeah, I remember going to the park a lot when I was a kid and going out with my friends, hanging out. Sadly, we've all moved on. Don't really speak to a few people, but not really everybody. I don't know. I mean, music-wise, I used to listen to anything. I mean, everybody was playing music. My siblings played a lot of their music, but their music genre is not really my taste. I mean, family, friends-wise, they used to play their music, and I was obsessed with it. It was 80s music. I loved the 80s, my favorite decade ever. And I remember during COVID, actually, is when I got into the 80s a lot. Like, that was my world. I got into it. I learned about different decades. Like, in movies, when I watch movies, I can identify what decades the movie's supposed to be set on different, like, I mean, details, I guess, because I just learned it, something I just learned. So yeah, 80s was my things. I listened to a lot of 80s music. I tried to even buy clothes similar to that decade because I just absolutely adored it. And yeah, I mean, I guess I wasn't a girly girl. I wouldn't say I was a girly girl. I was just a normal kid. I liked everything. I liked everything. I could talk about everything. I could play with anybody too. So that's cool. That's really cool.
I'm so sorry, I have to interrupt. It's so quiet, you guys.
It's fine, it's fine.
There's nobody here.
Yeah, it's fine. We have to finish it because I have to go soon. So yeah.
Speaking of 80s music, have you tried Ozzy Osbourne?
No, I haven't actually.
Speaking of, like, it's not the 80s sort of 1985 Change Your Things mood, but it's still the 80s. Since we're talking about the 80s.
Yeah, I'll give them a try. Anybody, I'll give them a try. But yeah, I'm gonna try. It's cool. Yeah, I guess now is the most important question. I'm so sorry. You're talking to your Daniil. You're talking to your future self. What are your hopes and dreams? What's something maybe you want your future self to remember that you want to pass on to yourself? Maybe something just you want to remember. You're like, don't forget this. Yeah. What are your goals? It's your time to shine. You're talking to your future self.
Okay. So my future me, the hot tip that I have, and I would always have, and I know I wouldn't respect, dear Daniil, please relax and don't be as hard on yourself as you are. Life has its ups and downs. and grieving about it and suppressing all sentimentality with regard to yourself would not improve it. And this is my message.
Any dreams you hope you've accomplished?
I mean, I don't want to speculate, but I would like to hope that, Daniil, that you are a successful mathematician, and that you that you get noticed as well, but above all that you enter all the places in the universities that you will always like to visit and collaborate with, that you that you have integrated the academia community, and you're doing the research that you always wanted to do ever since high school, and for at least that moment you are free to do it without any other additional pressure.
All right. We hope you accomplish all those hopes and dreams that you expressed. Daniil, listen to yourself and make your younger self proud of who you are now, I guess. Thank you for coming on our podcast. We appreciate it so much. We hope you enjoyed it. And we hope that you learned something from us too.
Yeah.
Like, got a different side of us. We definitely did a view, and I'm sure the viewers have as well. I guess this is the end. This was the Day Night Podcast with Lisley
And Marta.
and
Daniil.
thank you so much for watching, and see you guys next Monday.
Bye.
I wrote all the questions on here. It's my math book, and yeah, I just needed to. These are the fan questions we like to say.
And in the math book.
In the math book too. Very telling.
Hope you... Girl. Stop. I'm so tired. Scarves maybe aren't the best iPad holders.